Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody to our show tonight. Folks, please, at this point in time, let's rise for the singing of the United States National Anthem.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, singing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We want to thank these men for doing this for us and for the entire country and actually for the world. I want to thank each and every one of them for helping us out. I want to thank all of our military wherever they might be. Wherever they might be, here in the United States or abroad. I want to thank our allied military as well. Countries who are friends with the United States, protecting their own countries and also helping us protect the world. God bless you all. May you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. And thank you for your service, ladies and gentlemen. We love you very much. Folks, we have a lot of things I want to talk about tonight. The first thing I want to talk about is a package that S. Nort sent to us that's now under our Christmas tree. Now, I don't know what's in it. She didn't say what was in it, and I didn't ask. But if there's something in there, S. Nort, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll keep it under the Christmas tree. I want to thank Renee Steffi for this beautiful card. It's a wonderful card. Okay? It's a beautiful Christmas card. peace on earth. Peace on earth. We love that. It says, may all your Christmas wishes come true. Jesus is the gift that perfectly fits the size of every heart. May you and your family have a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. Thank you so much for this beautiful card. Carol and I really, really appreciate that ever so much. I also have to give thanks for another card that also came in today's mail. It's beautiful.
Location, Chile-Argentina border region. Class strong, magnitude 6.1, depth 73.3 miles 11 minutes ago.
I'm going to talk about the earthquakes in Chile in just a minute. Sweet Polly Purebred sent us a beautiful card. May you have a Merry Christmas and a wonderful New Year. I really love this. This is one of my favorite cards of all. I love the forest. I love winter scenes out in the forest as well. I want to thank Sweet Polly Purebred for that. In it says, Dear Ron and Carol, God bless you and your family. Thank you for the endless hours you spend on your channel explaining the upcoming dangers. Pray the peace of Jesus. Love be all of ours during this holiday season. Sweet Polly Purebred. Thank you so much. It's beautiful. I have to be very careful because Sweet Polly Purebred put a bunch of glitter in this card. I don't want it all over the house and all over my desk and inside my computer, that it might do bad things to my computer. I don't want that to happen either. But thanks, Sweet Polly Purebred, for that beautiful card. It's going up on the door of our office here, of our studio, as all of the Christmas cards do every year. We have a doorway here, and all the Christmas cards go on that door. It's a what shall I say, a tradition of ours. They usually go on the outside door of our house here in our apartment, but we have a wreath on the inside, and then we have a hanging Christmas scene on the outside of our door. So this year, the cards are all on the office studio door. Now I want to show you this. One of my cousins is getting married this coming year. She says, save the date. Okay? I want to thank my cousin Becky for that beautiful card. No, it's not a Christmas card, it's a wedding card. But I truly love that and appreciate all of my family, wherever they might be. Whether it's my own children, whether it's aunts and uncles, we only have one aunt and one uncle left. All my cousins on both sides of my family that I love and adore. God bless you all. Thank you for the well wishes, guys. We love and appreciate each and every one of you. We appreciate each and every one of our EMA family members here. Trish Mayer is here. Heidi Petrick is here. By the way, Heidi, thank you for that PayPal donation you made to us today as well. God bless you for that. We appreciate each and every one of you putting out donations for us, either in cards and letters that you send to us and super chats here on the program, or sending us donations through PayPal or Venmo. We love and appreciate you for that. That means the world to us. That money is earmarked for our program, to keep this program on the air. Occasionally, some of you will say, Ron and Carol, go out to dinner. Ron and Carol, buy something special for the two of you. Then we do that. But other than that, the money that you guys send us keeps this program on the air, literally. The costs keep going up, and we want to keep this program on the air for as long as possible, and that's what we're doing. So thank you for your support, your love and caring for each one of us. We love and appreciate you for that. Linda Covington, I don't know whether I gave her credit for this card earlier. Well, it's right before Thanksgiving. This card came to us about December 1st, but it's a beautiful Thanksgiving card. In it says, love you, your EMA sister Linda. Dear Ron and Carol, may your family enjoy the beautiful season of gratitude. I'm thankful for all the prayers I've been recovering, and I pray for the abundant blessings for all you do. Linda Covington, thank you for that beautiful card as well. Thank you so much. Again, I want to express my true thanksgiving from the bottom of my heart for all that you guys do. It means the world to us. Richard Smith, I haven't opened the card from you guys yet because we've been saving it for Christmas. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Carol and I will open it before Christmas, probably the weekend before Christmas. Richard Smith, thank you for that. We really appreciate it. We really, really appreciate that. That means everything to us. Okay, it really does. It's hard to talk about because I get choked up. I get very choked up because you guys mean everything to Carol and I. You are truly family members. It means so much. Anyway, thank you all, guys. We appreciate you. Well, thanks, Richard. Appreciate that. Carol and I usually open up those Christmas cards right before Christmas. I wasn't sure whether you had something inside the card that you wanted to wait for Christmas, but if you want to, we have it downstairs on the Christmas tree itself. We'll take it off and I'll open it up, and within the next few days I'll show it to everybody because it's a beautiful card. It's a cool card. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for that. Now, I want to go over to the USGS map for just a minute. Okay, I want to show you some earthquakes that have been happening. As I've said before, I don't like the USGS map. I think it's a bunch of crap. They are showing more earthquakes today than they have, but that doesn't mean much of anything. It honestly doesn't. They're only showing 241 earthquakes today. The other day when the earthquake hit out in the Nevada desert, they showed 366 earthquakes, and yet there was 100 earthquakes out in Nevada. What a joke. What a joke. There's 500 earthquakes every day in the desert of Imperial Valley, California. Earthquakes all over the country, all over the world, and they just don't show it. Incredible. Just incredible. Let's go down here into Chile, okay? They're showing this 5.0 over in Coloma, Chile. USGS downgraded this to 4.9. Came out as a 5.2 here, okay? 4.9 here. This is 95 kilometers deep. This is the 4.7 near Oligali, Chile. This is 199 kilometers, 200 kilometers deep. 4.7 moderate earthquake here. All these earthquakes, folks, are in the Andes Mountains. The Andes Mountains. Let's look at this. This is also 5.0 earthquake here. It's in the Andes Mountains, 84 kilometers west of San Antonio de los Cobres, Argentina. This is the border of Chile and Argentina. Let's zoom in here. I want to show you this. Okay? Look at the area around where this earthquake hit. There are volcanoes here. You can see volcano peaks here. You can see some craters. This earthquake here may be magma related. This may be magma related here. Earthquakes all over, guys. Let's go over to the map that the Europeans have for us. Let's take down the USGS map here. And let's go over to the European map I have on my other device, because USGS is still not showing those earthquakes in Chile. I wish I didn't have to do this. I have 5 applications on my phone. 5.
Location, Kepulauan Tulan, Indonesia class light, magnitude 4.4, 26 minutes ago.
Folks, look at these earthquakes here in Chile. Look at these earthquakes here in Chile in the Andes Mountains, border region of Argentina as well. USGS isn't showing any of these earthquakes at all. What a joke. Each time they do that, folks, each time that they're not showing earthquakes is a lie. A lie of omission. If you're omitting data or if you're omitting the truth of any kind, that's a lie. It's an out-and-out lie. This is a 6.4 earthquake. Okay, southeast of Molina, Chile. A 6.4 earthquake here. Right there. 6.4 earthquake here. It's in the foothills of the Andes Mountains here. Right there. Now, folks, I want to show you something. This is 29 miles east-southeast of Molina, Chile. Molina, Chile is right here. It sits in the foothills of the Andes Mountains. It appears that this is a rather large city here. Probably a city of 50, 60,000 people. Okay? Come on. There it is right there. Okay? Okay, you can see the earthquake here. You can see the earthquake here. There's the city of Molina, Chile right there. Okay? 26 miles south. This is a very strong earthquake. Very strong earthquake. 6.0, 6.9 are very strong earthquakes. Okay? 5.0, 5.9 are considerably large earthquakes, with 5.5 to 5.9 being very large earthquakes. This is a very strong earthquake. 6.4 earthquake here in Chile today, on land. On land. It's one thing when we have an earthquake that's out to sea, because the waters of the ocean tend to absorb the shock waves of these quakes. This one is on land. This one is going to do damage. These people in Chile, in South America, anywhere, they don't have the money that you and I do. They don't have the money to fortify their cities against earthquakes. There's going to be damage here. There may be some injuries or deaths, fatalities. That remains to be seen. This just happened. This earthquake just happened. Okay? So we're going to keep monitoring this area to see whatever else happens. To the north of this earthquake and to the north of Molina, Valparaiso, Chile. Valparaiso, Chile right here, the capital of Chile. This is a 3.5 earthquake. Southeast of there, this is Carrizo de Abajo, Mendoza, Argentina, a 3.1 earthquake here. To the north, you see those two earthquakes. Let's go take a look at those. 3.0. 3.0 near San Juan Province, Argentina. North of there, El Salado, San Juan, Argentina. This is a 3.2 earthquake here. Out to the west in Chile, this is El Tambo, Coquimbo, Chile. This is a 3.2 earthquake here. To the northeast, you see two more earthquakes here. The first one is a 4.1, and this is a 3.1 here. 4.1 just south of there, this is a 3.1 small earthquake here. 4.1 are moderate earthquakes. 4.0, 4.9 are considered to be moderate earthquakes. To the north, 2 more earthquakes. This was near Jujuy, Argentina. Jujuy, Argentina. This is a 3.7 earthquake right there. 3.7 earthquake there. To the west, this is near San Cristobal, Antofagasta, Chile. This is a 2.8 earthquake. Then you see this earthquake fault just to the north. It runs off the Pacific Ocean at the edge of the plate off the coast of Chile there. That's the edge of the South American continental tectonic plate. Right there on that fault line, we have a 4.9, 5.0. 4.9, 5.0 earthquake right there. Large earthquake. Just to the east of there, this is a 4.7 earthquake. Okay? 4.7 earthquake. The 5.0 hit at approximately 5 p.m. tonight, just about 2 hours ago. Just about 2 hours ago. The one over here to the east here in Provincia de Dupage, excuse me, not Provincia de, Provincia Nor Dupage is a 4.7 at just after 11 a.m. this morning. Okay? Then to the north of these earthquakes here in Tarapacá, Chile, this is a 2.6 earthquake. 2.6 earthquake. So over in Chile, all the way going north into the border area of Peru, we have small, moderate, and very large earthquakes, as well as that very strong earthquake further to the south. That just happened. We don't have any idea what's actually going on with that earthquake. Over in Colombia, last earthquake here in Colombia. This is a 2.4 in Santander, Colombia. Santander, northern Colombia. We get a lot of earthquakes right here. Why? Because where that is, okay, you see that earthquake fall off to the east? Guess what that is? That's part of the Cayman Ridge. Part of the Cayman Ridge. The Cayman Ridge starts in Guatemala, goes all the way east, past Jamaica, past the Cayman Islands, goes north over Haiti and the Dominican Republic, skirts Cuba, and continues eastbound around the outlying islands out there, then goes west all the way down until it gets almost to northern South America, and then it makes a westward turn, and this is where Santander, Colombia gets earthquakes. Okay? But here in South America today, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14 earthquakes here in South America. USGS shows us 2. Shows us 2 earthquakes. What a joke. Diane Kelman says, I swear they're all connected. These aren't connected to the ones up in the United States. These are completely different. Okay? Now, we told you about earthquakes down in the South Pacific. Okay, and I'm talking about Tonga and Fiji. We've told you that these earthquakes down here in Tonga and Fiji, which they're not showing anything, they're showing earthquakes down in New Zealand today here on my device here, but USGS is not showing anything. The earthquakes over here in Tonga and Fiji region here, we've had earthquakes here, right? We had moderate earthquakes, deep moderate earthquakes. Those deep moderate earthquakes propagate larger, stronger, shallower quakes. Okay? That seismic energy can go off here to the east, all the way over to Colombia, or not Colombia, I'm sorry, all the way over to Chile and Argentina. And that's what may have happened. That's what may have happened. We had one earthquake over in Fiji earlier this week. We said it was going to be at least a 6.0. So that may have went over to Chile, and we may have had that 6.4 earthquake as a result. That happens. That happens. Does anybody have any questions about this? Yes, I got that 6.2 in Chile. It was actually 6.4. Sage Pup, that turned out to be a 6.4 earthquake. And I'll show it to you again really quick here. .4 earthquake over here in the Andes Mountains here, just south of Molina, Chile. 6.4 earthquake. USGS can downgrade them all they want. It doesn't mean that the U.S. is right. It doesn't mean that the U.S. is right at all. The USGS lies to us. They absolutely lie to us over and over and over again. They want to condition us to think, oh, nothing's wrong. These were lower earthquakes. They're not going to do as much damage. But we all know that USGS lies. If they lie about this, they're going to lie about everything. Period. They always do. They always do, without fail. Now, I don't condone their lying at all. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But they continue it. They continue with their garbage. Now, President Trump says he's going to do something about it. We'll see. We'll see. Tonight, I want to talk about earthquakes in the Pacific Northwest. Okay? This is where we're going to start out. This is Baker Kendall, just south of Mount Baker. Look at what we're seeing here. This is actually the first seismogram. The first seismogram we've seen in a long time that's accurate. Okay? Why am I saying that? Because as of right now, prior to today, all we've seen here at Baker Kendall was trash, abstract, garbage. That's all they've been showing us is garbage. This is the first real seismogram we've seen. Now, it's not just the USGS. The Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has a lot to do with it as well. These are the seismograms I'm going to show you tonight here in the Pacific Northwest belong to the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. They're the ones responsible for what I'm going to show you tonight. Except when we see a blue background on the earthquake. That means it's a USGS seismogram. But this is Baker Kendall. You see thicker lines here. These thicker lines indicate magma coming into the volcano area. Okay? The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the volcano. The thinner lines, lesser magma. When you see vertical lines going through each of these horizontal lines, that means the magma has fractured rock in the magma tunnel or magma chamber, causing earth movement. Fracturing rocks causing earth movement. In many cases, that earth movement is just tremors. And that's what we're seeing here on the Baker Kendall seismogram here. But it's not the only information here. Let me show you another seismogram here from Mount Baker. This is the main seismogram from Mount Baker here. All we're seeing here are tremors here. We have one vertical line. One very thin vertical line here. This vertical line happened after 7:15 this morning. 7:15 on the very left-hand side. Over here, this is about 7:10 a.m. this morning. This appears to be a 3.5 earthquake. 3.5 earthquake here at Mount Baker this morning. 7:10 a.m. this morning. All the other seismic signals here are microquakes and tremors. Microquakes and tremors here. Okay? This is Mount Baker. The main seismometer here at Mount Baker. Let's go to the ski resort at Mount Baker. This is Shookson. This particular seismogram shows magma coming into the magma chamber. This is Shookson HHN channel, as you can see. The wavy lines here show magma coming into the magma chamber. This is what magma does as it comes into the magma chamber here. It causes very low frequency waves, which we see in wavy lines here. This is an absolute fantastic seismogram. But the problem is, it does not match up with the other seismogram that we see at Shookson. Okay? It doesn't match up. Why is that? That's because the agency doesn't want us to see all the earthquakes. They scrub the earthquakes. Now, over here, just after 5 a.m. this morning, you see the tightest curly waves here. That means we should have seen some earthquakes here after 5 a.m. this morning. That did not occur. If we had earthquakes during this time period this morning, it was shown up on the seismogram as earthquakes. However, if this is actually earthquake activity, then we know that the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network scrubbed the seismogram. They scrubbed the seismogram before they put it out. They don't want us to see what's actually going on. That's why I go over here to other parts of the site here. The seismograph putting out this information here is a multi-channel seismograph. That's what allows us to see what we're looking at right now. But the main seismogram doesn't show us the activity like this has. Okay? That's why I go digging for this material here. Mount Baker is a very active volcano. Mount Baker is a very active volcano. Shookson is a ski resort on the northwest side of Mount Baker. Okay? This is the activity we're seeing here. Let's go south. Let's go south to Mount Rainier. I didn't pull anything at Glacier Peak because there was very little to show you. But Mount Rainier has activity here. Okay? Let's go over to Camp Sherman here. Look at this. Now, every day, the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has been showing us the same seismogram day in and day out for the past 3 weeks. The same seismogram. If we look closely, this seismogram shows gas activity coming from the volcano. Steam. Steam coming from the volcano. These lines with a curly Q on them represent steam signals. Steam signals caused by the magma, the magma releasing the steam from the magma. Now, excuse me. Let me get a drink of water here. % of all magma is water. 60% of all magma is water. So when the magma is releasing steam, the steam is pent up inside the magma, inside the volcano, isn't it? When the magma gets to a point inside the volcano where it's able to release the steam, the water from the volcano in terms of steam, we see this kind of signature. We also see steam emanating from the volcano. Now, I looked and looked and looked. I don't know anybody that lives anywhere near Mount Baker to see if it indeed is steaming like this. If the volcano was steaming like this, it'd be like a steam locomotive going down the tracks. A lot of steam coming from the volcano. I do not think that's the case. Okay? Again, what I believe is happening here with this specific seismogram is that the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network is again putting up false information. Putting up false information. Let me enlarge this for a minute. See this red line here in the top center of the screen here on the seismogram? That's a magma churn signal. Magma churn signals typically are 23 to 24 lines high. Let's look at this one. I already have today, but I'm going to count it with you. Steam signals are 23 to 24 lines high. This one is 7 lines high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines high. This means this seismogram is only showing us about 26 to 27% of real world. 26 to 27% of real world. Okay? That means the signatures here on this seismogram should be larger than they are. Okay? If you look closely, we're also seeing tremors here. Tremor signals. Tremors are caused by the magma fracturing rock inside the volcanic chamber, causing earth movement. In terms of tremors, I do not see any full-blown earthquake activity happening here. All we're seeing here are tremors here. We have earthquake activity, they're hiding it. They're hiding it from us. Okay? That's what's happening here at Mount Baker. Let me show you another seismogram here. Okay. I showed you Shuxon here. Let me show you the main seismogram at Shuxon. Okay? All we're seeing here on the main seismogram is magma coming through the magma chamber here at the volcano. Okay? And we're only seeing some tremor activity. Some light tremor activity. The vertical lines on this line showing the magma. Okay? This is a magma pulse signal. Magma pulse signals. Each horizontal line on this seismogram represents 15 minutes of time. What we're seeing here on these lines here that are very clear to us are magma pulse signals. Magma coming into the magma chamber. Where it's thicker the lines, more magma coming into the magma chamber. Where it's thinner, the less magma coming into the magma chamber. Okay? It starts out thin, gets thicker, then gets thinner. Magma pulse signals.
Location offshore Guerrero, Mexico, class light, magnitude 4.4, 22 minutes ago.
4.4 offshore Guerrero, Mexico, southern Mexico. Okay? Again, the United States Geological Survey is not showing any earthquakes in southern Mexico at all, offshore or onshore. There are about 26 earthquakes in southern Mexico today. 26 earthquakes, and they're not showing us even one. That's sad. That's sad. Now, let's go down to Mount Rainier. Okay, I want to show you Mount Rainier now. Let's see here. I'm sorry, that was Mount Rainier. That was Camp Sherman. Okay? That was Camp Sherman. Let's go over to Carbon Repeater. The Carbon Repeater is actually a radio repeater on the side of Mount Rainier at Carbon. Okay? It's a small area that they named Carbon. What we're seeing here is tremor activity here. A lot of it. Okay? Constant tremor activity at Mount Rainier. Okay? This shows up on several seismograms around Mount Rainier. Several seismograms at Mount Rainier show this. Okay? Let's take a look at what we can see at Emerald Ridge. Okay? This is the Emerald Ridge seismogram showing the BLF wave activity, showing the magma activity coming into Mount Rainier. The wavy lines here. The thinner wavy lines here, less magma coming into the magma chamber. Where you see heavy-duty swirly lines here, that shows more magma coming into the magma chamber. And as a result of these curly, swirly lines here, we should see more earthquake activity, because it appears that there's more active magma activity coming into Mount Rainier. But guess what? Guess what PNSN has done again? Let me show you another seismogram coming from Mount Rainier. They're not showing it, guys. They're not showing it. I just showed you Carbon. I'm going back to Camp Sherman. They're not showing it. They're not showing it. They're not showing it at Camp Sherman. They're not showing it at Camp Muir. They're not showing it anywhere. That means they're hiding the information. Usually we can see it. Usually there's at least one seismogram showing the activity going on at Camp or at Mount Rainier. Today they're not showing anything at all. We know Mount Rainier is busy. We've seen that BLF wave seismogram. We know what's going on. But again, the agencies are hiding the activity. Totally hiding it. Let's go south to Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens is a little bit different. Okay? I want to go over to the East Dome of Mount St. Helens. The East Dome seismogram. The top of Mount St. Helens is a great big huge volcanic slab of rock. The last time Mount St. Helens erupted, the lava cooled at the top of Mount St. Helens. When it cooled, it left a hard piece of lava rock, pumice. For the most part, it's pumice. Now, on top of that great big huge slab of rock, there is a square steel seismograph. A square seismograph sitting on top of that slab of volcanic rock. That seismograph is giving us its information here. Okay? What we're seeing here at the top comes from 5 p.m. last night. Throughout the day, or throughout the evening yesterday, throughout the morning this morning, and all day long today. This is showing a lot of tremor activity at Mount St. Helens. A lot. Constant tremor activity. It didn't stop. Now, let me enlarge this so you can see the time element here. Okay? This morning, between 4 p.m. last night at the top and approximately midnight last night, it was light tremor activity. Very light tremor activity. And you can see that one light blue line appear at the top left. That's probably a 1.5, 1.6 tremor last night. Okay? That happened after 6:33 last night. 1.5 tremor. Now, after midnight, you can see the tremor activity kick in high gear. Now, these are larger tremors here. I do not see any full-blown earthquakes here. I don't see any full-blown earthquakes here. This is tremor activity, heavy-duty tremor activity. 1.5, 1.6, maybe even 1.7 tremors here. But it's all together. It's constant, consistent tremor activity. It doesn't end. Once it starts, it continues. It continues. And you can see what happens here. Okay? This is East Dome Mount St. Helens. Let's change seismographs. Okay? There's another seismograph on top of Mount St. Helens. It's a spider. It's a spider. It's called September lobe. Let me show you September lobe here. Right here. This particular channel on September lobe is also showing us a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount St. Helens. At the top of this seismograph is 4 p.m. yesterday afternoon. But again, after about 9 p.m. last night, 2100 hours over on the left-hand side. It says 21 on the left-hand side. 21 means 2100 military time, 9 p.m. You can see the increased magma activity here. The curlier the lines here, the swirlier the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. Look at that. Tons of magma coming into Mount St. Helens. Now, what does that mean? We don't have any other seismographs that show us any actual earthquakes happening at Mount St. Helens because they scrubbed it. They scrubbed it. But they did not scrub this particular channel of the volcano. They didn't scrub this channel from the seismograph. We're seeing what we see. Mount St. Helens has enough activity that it's getting ready to erupt. I've talked about this before and I'm showing it to you now. I usually show these kinds of seismographs every week so you know what's going on. We used to show them every Monday and Thursday. Now we show them at least once a week. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to go. Mount St. Helens is getting ready to go, guys. Let there be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Seismic activity is growing at this volcano. Now, I picked and chose what information I was going to show you. I skipped over Mount Hood because there's not that much activity at Mount Hood to report. The next information I'm going to show you comes from Sisters Volcano. Actually, no. The next information I'm going to show you is coming from Newberry Volcano. I'm going to show you two seismograms at Newberry Volcano. This is Sichel. This is a cinder cone at Newberry Volcano. Look what we're showing you here. A lot of magma activity, a lot of tremors here. We don't show any earthquakes here at all, but we're showing you tremor activity. Consistent, constant tremor activity here at cinder cone at Newberry Volcano. Newberry Volcano is ramped up. We didn't used to see this all the time at Newberry Volcano, but it's ramped up. Let me show you the other seismogram here at Newberry Volcano. Right here. Okay? This seismogram comes from NCO. Okay? It comes from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Center here, but it's the seismogram called NCO here. Seismograph NCO at Newberry Volcano. What are we seeing? We're seeing horizontal lines here at the top. The horizontal lines are again 15 minutes long. You see thinner lines and you see thicker lines. The thinner lines, less magma coming into the magma chamber. The thicker lines, more magma coming into the magma chamber. Yes, you are seeing thicker lines, however. Most of these thicker lines correspond to tremors at the volcano. Tremors caused by magma coming into the magma chamber, fracturing rock inside the volcanic chamber here at Newberry Volcano. It's very apparent what's going on here. Yes, we're seeing tremors here. No big earthquakes, but just tremors here at Newberry Volcano. It's active, guys. This volcano is very active. Now I want to jump down to south central Oregon. Newberry Volcano is in Oregon. Sisters Volcano is in Oregon. South central Oregon has another volcano. Actually, several volcanoes, quite a few. What we want to look at Crater Lake. Crater Lake. For months now, Pacific Northwest Seismic Network has had Crater Lake, Fleetwood Cove, which is on the northeast side of Crater Lake. They've had it closed down. It's still closed down. So we want to take a look at Crater Lake, Mount Scott, on the southeast side of Crater Lake. This is Mount Scott. This is Mount Scott. You can see nothing but tremors here, literally all day long. But after midnight, the tremors got a little bit larger, but they're still tremors. There are no full-blown earthquakes here at Crater Lake, at least not on this particular seismograph. Notice that after 7:15 this morning, they turned off the seismograph. They turned off the seismograph. The seismograph doesn't show much activity except about 9 minutes later when they turned it back on. They turned the seismograph off, then turned it back on. And then you still see tremor activity. Why did they turn the machine off? Heaven knows. But the overall seismograph is not showing enough activity to warrant them even turning them off. If they turn it off to avoid showing any big earthquakes here at Crater Lake, we would have known it because someone would have reported large tremor activity. They would have reported bigger earthquakes here at Crater Lake. That was not the case. Okay? One other seismogram we want to show you here at Crater Lake. It's called bunkhouse. Crater Lake bunkhouse. The bunkhouse is not showing us much. This particular seismogram is showing the VLF wave activity. This particular seismograph here is showing us the magma activity coming into Crater Lake. This is significant. The VLF waves are still moving. Now, for the majority part of the day from yesterday at 4 p.m. until yesterday after 7 a.m. this morning. Yes, we had some VLF wave activity, it's very apparent. But after 7 a.m., it really kicked into gear. Heavy-duty seismic activity, heavy-duty volcanic wave activity. That means a lot of magma came into Crater Lake. Yet, they're not showing it at Mount Scott, and they're not showing it anywhere else either. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? They're not showing the activity, guys. They're not showing the activity. Now, what the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network and USGS activity, it's the same thing. They've been omitting information, hiding information. That is their modus operandi, or that's Latin for their method of operation. They don't want anybody knowing what they're doing. Okay? That's very apparent. It's very apparent what they're up to. They don't want us to know what's going on. Now I'm going to jump down to Mount Shasta. Okay? I told you earlier this week when someone wanted to know what's going on in Shasta. I told you I would show you that. Mount Shasta, there's very little activity. Okay? The USGS seismograph is not showing much of anything. In fact, out of 8 seismographs at Mount Shasta, there's only one showing any kind of activity. Okay? This is over at the north side of Mount Shasta. Seismograph LMP on the north side of Mount Shasta. The thicker lines here show magma activity, magma coming into the volcano. And this is consistent. It doesn't stop. It doesn't get any larger either, but it's consistent. Look at that. Now, do I trust this seismogram? No, I don't. I don't. Why don't I trust it? Because it's just consistent. It doesn't show anything different. Volcanoes don't do that. Volcanoes don't do this. Okay? You don't have constant, consistent activity over and over and over, hour after hour, for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But that's what we're showing here at Mount Shasta. Do I trust the USGS? Not any further than I can throw them. Promise you that. I don't trust them at all. Let me show you Mount Lassen. Mount Lassen is a completely different story. Let me show you that one. I have several seismographs here from Mount Lassen. This one is seismograph LDB. Seismograph LDB. At least on this particular seismograph. The seismograph is showing us terminal activity here. You see vertical lines here. Again, each individual line here is 20 minutes worth of activity. This one is 20 minutes compared to 15 on the other seismograms. But you're actually seeing tremor activity. This is so much different than what we were showing on the other seismograms. Look at this. Okay? This is where it's different here. Let me enlarge this seismogram so you can see what we're showing you. Okay? After 8 a.m., things get a little bit more dicey here at Mount Lassen, don't they? We're actually showing you tremors here. But down at the bottom, this is the difference here. This is the difference here at Mount Lassen. Why is it different? We're showing this time a lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. A lot of magma coming into the magma chamber. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. In this case, we're actually seeing magma coming in. And then we're seeing spikes on these vertical lines. The vertical spikes here on these horizontal lines here are earthquake and tremor activity. We may be seeing 2.0 to 2.5 earthquakes here, happening here as a result of magma coming in to the volcano here. 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes, minor earthquakes, caused by the magma coming into the magma chamber here at Mount Lassen. Okay? Now, with that said, I've shown you this particular seismogram. Let me show you the few others I have to show you here. This is why it's more interesting here today. This is seismogram here, LDH. LDH. Okay? Let me pull down the seismogram from yesterday evening. Okay? This started out at about 2:45, 2:50 yesterday afternoon, and then over on the left it says 1500. 1500 is 3 p.m. military time. Now here you are seeing tremor activity. You're seeing tremor activity. Now, as we go throughout the evening into this morning, you see a little bit more activity here. As it comes into today, this morning, and into this afternoon, the activity increases. The activity increases, just like the other seismogram showed. More and more magma coming into the magma chamber, and we're seeing these vertical hits here, which are tremors happening because the magma is fracturing rock inside the magma chamber of the volcano. Okay? So these are good, clean seismograms, or relatively good, clean seismograms. There is some artifact here, but at least we're seeing what's going on. This next seismogram is seismogram LME. This particular seismogram is on the north side of Mount Lassen. Look at this. These earthquakes that you see here happened after 6 a.m. this morning. These earthquakes you see here happened after 6 a.m. this morning. Let's go down to last night. Okay? Over on the left-hand side, you're seeing 1500 hours, 3 p.m. yesterday. We're seeing tremors, don't we? We're seeing tremors. After 16:30, which is 4:30 yesterday afternoon. In this case, the lines get thicker, the horizontal lines get thicker, showing more magma coming into the magma chamber. Then the lines get thinner as well. Less magma coming into the magma chamber. But we're seeing tremors here. A lot of tremors. Then after midnight, look what happens here. It actually started at 11:45 last night. They started shutting off the seismograph. Shutting off the seismograph. Now, you see this black line here. This black line started off at midnight last night, 0000 hours, midnight last night. The seismogram is let to run for about 10 minutes. Well, actually, 9 minutes. Okay? Then for 6 more minutes, it's off. See that line running up to the line above it? That is indicative of the seismograph being shut off. This is what we see when the seismogram is shut off. Then it's shut off for about, I want to say 30 minutes. It's turned back on at 1 a.m. this morning. It's continuing at 11:15, it's shut off again. It's turned on again at 1:30. They let it run for about 9 minutes and they shut it off again. In this case, it's shut off for 6 minutes here and another 15 minutes after that and another 9 minutes after that. Then they turn it back on. Okay, look at that. Time periods where they shut off the seismograph. Why did they shut it off? What are they hiding here? Okay? Then they turn the seismograph back on, and then they let it run. Again, we're seeing tremors here. Then after 6 a.m. this morning, we see some tremors. Then we have 2 3.0 plus earthquakes. I believe there's probably 3.3 to 3.4 small earthquakes this morning at Mount Lassen. The red lines you see here are computer generated. Those red lines are generated to get the seismologist's attention to let them know, hey, this is important. You need to look at it. This seismogram, as others that have red lines, are generated and looked at by the seismologist, or we would not even see them. They have to be approved by the seismologist for us to see them. But these are at least 3.3 earthquakes, both of them. They may have been a little bit larger than that. What else are we seeing here? We're also seeing thicker lines here. The thicker lines are more magma coming into the magma chamber, and then they get thinner and get thicker again. And yes, we're seeing earthquakes here. We're seeing earthquakes. Just after 9:30 this morning, about 9:37 a.m. this morning, we're seeing 2.9, 3.0 earthquakes. Look at that. And then 5 minutes goes by, and we can see another bunch of earthquakes after that on the same line. And you can see the earthquake activity here. All morning, the rest of the morning, and into the afternoon today. Okay? Mount Lassen is getting ready to erupt, everybody. Mount Lassen is getting ready to erupt. The activity is consistent with that idea. The activity is consistent with that idea. Now, let me make this seismogram smaller, and let me show you another seismogram here. The next seismogram is on the southern side of Mount Lassen here. This is seismograph LRR. LRR. Okay? Up at the top. Okay? Each horizontal line is showing activity, doesn't it? Each horizontal line is showing 20 minutes of activity. Each horizontal line is showing magma activity. The thicker the lines, the more magma coming into the magma chamber. The thinner lines, less magma coming into the magma chamber here. Look at that. And yes, the magma coming into the magma chamber are all causing tremors. Fracturing the rock, and causing tremor activity, earth movement. Magma causing earth movement. Now, after approximately 2,200 hours over on the left-hand side, which is 10 p.m. yesterday evening, over here to the right on that same line, you see a vertical line with a curly Q on it. That vertical line with the curly Q is a steam signal. Mount Lassen is steaming. Mount Lassen is steaming here. Let's move this down here. We're seeing thicker lines again. More magma horizontal lines. Thicker the lines, more magma coming into this magma chamber at Mount Lassen. Let's move down here to this afternoon. Look at this. Look what happens after 2 p.m. Look at those lines. There is a lot of magma coming into Mount Lassen. We saw this on one other seismogram, didn't we? Okay? Mount Lassen is getting ready to erupt. Let there be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Mount Lassen is already getting ready to erupt, just as Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier are. Ruthie says, wow. Now, I've been watching this activity for some time. I've been telling you that this was what was going to happen, or that this was happening. Okay? For some time now, Mount Lassen has been showing signs of a possible eruption. Mount Lassen has not erupted since 1917. It's now showing activity. It's been over 100 years since it last erupted. And we're seeing the activity now. Volcanoes up and down the entire west coast of North America. Canada, British Columbia, all the way down to northern Mexico. Volcanoes from up in British Columbia, Canada, just north of the U.S. border, all the way down here to Mount Lassen are in the Cascade Mountain Range. The other volcanoes are not in the Cascade Mountain Range. However, they are all showing signs of activity. But what am I showing you? What have I shown you today? I've shown you Mount Rainier. I've shown you Mount St. Helens. I've shown you Newberry Volcano. I've shown you Sisters Volcano. I've shown you Crater Lake. And I've also shown you Shasta and Lassen. Out of those volcanoes, Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Lassen are showing you the most activity. Those three volcanoes are ramping up. These three volcanoes are possibly going to erupt. I'm telling you right now, it will happen. Now, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. Someone earlier this year sent me this ball. Okay? This is a Presidento Perfecto. Presidento Perfecto ball. This doesn't tell me anything else that President Trump hasn't not already said. This is not going to tell me about eruptions at volcanoes or major earthquakes going to happen. Just not going to happen. Doesn't show me that. Now, S-Nort also sent me a ball here. Well, it may be a crystal ball. This also is not telling me when something's going to happen. It's not telling me when anything's going to happen. I'm not a clairvoyant. I don't read palms. But given all the activity I keep showing you, I'm showing you the activity to give you an idea of what's happening and what's happened in the past. I believe that Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, and Mount Lassen are 3 volcanoes about to erupt. We need to keep our eyes open. We need to keep our eyes open. What else have I shown you in the last week? What other evidence have I shown you during the last week that shows you what we need to keep our eyes open for? Earthquakes. Absolutely, earthquakes. Why? Because that's showing us activity that could hurt us. That is showing us activity that's conjunction activity with the volcanoes. We cannot have subduction without volcanoes, and we can't have volcanoes without earthquake subduction. They go hand in hand. When the Pacific Plate subducts underneath the North American Fault, when the Pacific Plate subducts under the North American Fault, we have earthquakes, don't we? Subduction also causes the plate to rise up. Mountain building. Also, when the subduction happens, it causes magma to go up into those mountains that just built, right? Volcanoes. You cannot have volcanoes without subduction, and you cannot have subduction without volcanoes. They go hand in hand. It's a fact. It's a fact. Now, why am I so concerned? Why do you think I'm so concerned? Because every time we've had a volcanic eruption, and every time we've had major seismic activity, it's caused loss of life and injuries to people. What are we trying to get through to people? What are we trying to tell people that's going to happen? And how they can save their own lives? What do you need to do to prepare for what we're seeing happen? How can we prepare? Not all of us live over in the Pacific Northwest. Not all of us live over around Mount Lassen or Mount Shasta or Mount Rainier or Mount St. Helens or even Crater Lake or even Mount Baker up to the north. We don't live near those volcanoes. However, we are all seeing seismic activity where we live. My buddy Don Patoka in northern Utah, he has been seeing earthquake activity since time immemorial. He's seen the seismic activity. He's even felt some of it. When I lived there in northern Utah, I also felt seismic activity. And I've even shown you seismograms in northern Utah showing the seismic activity. Tremors and earthquakes. Northern Utah is due at least a 7.0 earthquake. Utah is due a 7.0 earthquake. And it's going to rattle from up in southwestern Idaho all the way down to central Utah. That's a fact. I've shown you seismic activity coming out of Alaska, going all the way down into northern Mexico. I've shown you seismic activity coming from Central America, going up into California. Fact. Fact. What do we need to do to prepare? What do we do to prepare? Or do we just sit back and let it happen? And if we die, we just die? Or do we actually do something about it? What do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about it? I'm not willing to just let it happen. I'm not willing to just let it happen. I've never been that kind of person. Just let stuff happen and let people get killed. Or let myself get killed, or my family get killed, or hurt, or go without food. Not going to happen. Before I get talking about earthquake preparedness, I want to talk to you about seismic activity and fire activity in Southern California. All week long, we've been talking about fires over in Malibu, California. Let me give you an update on what's going on in Malibu, California today. This morning, we entered the 5th day of fire activity in Malibu, California, Los Angeles County. Firefighters have been battling a fire that's now over 4,000 acres big. It's going to over 4,000 acres. It went over 4,000 acres yesterday, but the fire has grown over into steeper terrain. The Santa Ana winds that we had at the beginning of the week have calmed down. Less wind, less fire. The fire's not spread like it has all week long. But we've had 4,000 acres of land burn. Friday morning, as the fire continues to smolder in very steep and dangerous terrain. The fire activity overnight last night remained minimal. No significant fire growth occurred. Crews are working to contain the Franklin fire in Malibu, California. Last Monday night, about 10 minutes before 11 p.m. Monday night Pacific time, the Franklin fire first reared its bad head. It started late Monday night. It quickly began burning thousands of acres of land across Malibu in a matter of days. It's impacted dozens of structures and a lot of homes, including that of Hollywood celebrities Dick Van Dyke and Cher and Mark Hamill. The fire also charred land near Pepperdine University that we talked about all week long. It charred land inside Pepperdine University Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, causing a shelter-in-place order at the university. Sheltering in place. Staying inside the dorms, inside homes, with the windows closed. Fortunately for those students and teachers and parents, the temperatures have been cooler than they have been in the past days and weeks. Cooler. So the temperatures inside the buildings are probably not more than 65, 70 degrees, which is good idea. Okay? It's not as bad as it has been. The following road closures will change to a soft closure. We talked about full-blown hard closure of the roads. The following road closures will change to a soft close, allowing residents only through those roadblocks. as the police and fire departments repopulate those areas. Pacific Coast Highway and Cross Creek Road. Pacific Coast Highway and Cross Creek Road. Pacific Coast Highway, Sierra Road. Pacific Coast Highway and Sweetwater Canyon. The once fast-moving fire has scorched more than 4,000 acres, like I said. And now, as of this morning, it was 30% contained. 7% contained, 20% contained yesterday, 7% contained the day before that. Now 30% contained. That does not mean it's fully going to be stopped anytime soon. It's probably going to take several more days, even a week, to put this fire down to where it can be controlled. Contain is being controlled. The fire threatened more than 4,300 structures, destroying 14 and damaging 13 other structures. The natural disaster, fueled by the Santa Ana winds, prompted officials to issue mandatory evacuations and air quality alerts all over Los Angeles County. Mandatory evacuations and air quality alerts. And they closed roads and access roads as they continue to battle this blaze. Motorists are being asked to use caution driving in affected areas to fire personnel and equipment still working in the area. It's still under investigation what's going on there. The fire is still under investigation. They do not know how it started. But it's still blazing. The fire is still blazing. It's going to continue to blaze for a while. This is what it looked like yesterday. With the wind blowing the embers out away. And you can see a firefighter working to put out the fire. Spraying water on the fire. This is how it looks over by Malibu Canyon. You see the roadblocks being enforced by the California Highway Patrol and Sheriff's Office. Motorists, like I said, are being asked to use caution, driving through affected areas as fire personnel and equipment are still working in those areas. So far, there have been no fatalities reported. The official cause of the fire remains under investigation this morning. Nearly 2,000 fire personnel have been assigned to this fire, including multiple air tankers, flying air suppression machines as conditions allow. CAL FIRE, which is a former California Division of Forestry, is supervising this fire. Now, this weekend, there's a storm off the coast of the northwestern Pacific coast. Washington, Oregon, and California are under storm warnings. Light rain is expected in Southern California. Incoming rain is expected as early as tomorrow. The fire was discovered Monday just before 11 p.m. Pacific time. The blaze spread overnight into Tuesday, fueled by those Santa Ana winds Tuesday and Wednesday. The winds blew up and above 50 to 70 miles an hour, with low humidity caused by the drastic winds in the area, lowering the humidity. This Pacific front coming in from the Pacific Ocean will bring light rain to the area on Saturday. The highest totals of rain will be over Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, all throughout that area in the counties, with very little rainfall in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. Very little rainfall in Ventura and Los Angeles counties. As the winds dropped off on Wednesday, the National Weather Service in Los Angeles ended red flag warnings. The red flag warnings were caused by the Santa Ana winds. Red flag warnings, the Santa Ana winds lowering the humidity in the air would cause the fires to be more prevalent. The red flag warnings ended on Wednesday. Okay? They were elevated briefly because critical conditions lingered into Thursday for breezy areas, including southwest Santa Barbara County and the San Gabriel Mountains. A Pacific front coming in is expected to bring light rain to the region on Saturday, according to the National Weather Service. Now, residents are urged to stay indoors. Keep your windows closed due to bad air quality. Bad air quality is due to poor air quality caused by the fire and the smoke. Stay indoors and keep your windows closed. Use an air purifier if possible. Avoid any strenuous activity. Especially avoid any strenuous activity outdoors. Turn off any house fans that bring in outdoor air. Anyone who must go outside should wear an N95 mask. Anyone who should go outside should be wearing an N95 air purifying mask. Do you have any questions for me? Charlene says, Ron, you may not be clairvoyant, but you're sure an angel in my book. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yes, education is a key. Education is a key. That's why we are up till late at night, and you can ask my wife. I was up till about 3 o'clock this morning because I couldn't sleep. I was researching activity, even ready to go on the air if necessary. I stay on this thing until late at night, early in the morning. And my dear wife, Carol, puts up with it, and she assists me. Carol assists me in all this activity. She wants me to be able to help you. And help you I will. That I promise you. That I promise you. I have always been to the point that I'm going to give you as much activity information as I possibly can. I don't want anybody to get killed. I don't want to have anybody get hurt. That is the last thing I want to have happen. Now, I want to talk about preparedness activity. I have a lot of information. I ask you to take notes. Okay? I gave this particular talk about 4 years ago. About 5 or 6 years ago, when I was in Salt Lake City. I gave this to a group of people in Harriman, Utah. We talked about emergency preparedness involving earthquakes. Because even in northern Utah, they've had earthquakes. In 2018, March 18th, 2018, downtown Salt Lake City was rocked by a 5.6 earthquake. My mother's birthday, 2018, Salt Lake City got rocked by a large 5.6 earthquake. It caused millions of dollars in damage. Fortunately, no one was injured. Salt Lake City missed a big one. I held this class in Harriman, Utah. About 80 people attended. I had a reporter from KSL News. He also was there, and he reported this on the news. Like many people in Utah, there are people all over the country. And I put out a poll earlier this week about preparedness kits. Who of my friends, who in my contact list has an emergency preparedness kit? I have received 26 responses to that particular poll. 18 people out of the 26 have some kind of preparedness kit. Some people have more of a preparedness kit than others. I want to inform all of you that you all need to have an emergency preparedness kit, regardless whether it's going to be an earthquake or not. Because you may have a flood, you may have a fire, you may get a tornado, you may have a hurricane hit you. You may have a train derailment where they derail toxic chemical into the ground and then some bozo burns it, putting toxic chemicals into the air, like they did in Ohio. Putting toxic chemicals in the air and leaching those chemicals into the local water supplies, the creeks and rivers. Yeah, that happened in Ohio. That could again happen anywhere, because we have stupid people. We have stupid people in charge. Yes, stupid people in charge that do stupid things. That was planned. That particular event was planned. Now, you need to have emergency food supplies. You need to have all kinds of emergency supplies besides food and water. Each person should have at least 5 gallons of drinking water. At least 5 gallons of drinking water. At least 1 gallon per day. And I even tell people that you need to have at least 3 gallons per day per person. 1 gallon of water for flushing toilets. 1 gallon of water for flushing toilets. And yes, it takes nearly 1 gallon of water just for one flush. So you may need multiple gallons of water unless your family uses the same toilet and then flushes it after 3 or 4 uses, depending on what happens. But you may need upwards of 5 gallons of water per day per person. Now, Carol and I have a proper water supply here. We have cases and cases of water here. We have water for our dogs and for cooking. We have water for dogs and our cooking. That's separate from our drinking water. Carol and I also have cases of water for drinking. Our dogs have at least 4 to 5 months of worth of water. Whoever's calling me, I'll call you back. But our dogs have a 4-month supply of water. Carol and I have 4 to 5 months worth of water here. And we're going to try to get even more than that. However, you need to have food, you need to have water. You need to have food and water. Hold on a second, folks. Hello, this is Ron. I'm on the air right now. Can I call you back in another 30 minutes or so? Great. I'll call you back. Thank you. Anyway, back when I lived in Utah in 2018, I woke up at just about 7 a.m. in the morning. I'd been lying in bed and I sat up on the edge of the bed. That's when the earthquake hit in Salt Lake City. My wife and kids had just woken up too. Our baby granddaughter was there, and she slept through the whole thing. Now, what do you guys think we did? What do you guys, and I believe Don already knows it. My buddy Don Patoco also lived through that quake. He felt it as well. What went through your mind when you felt the ground move, when you felt your floor moved? Well, we lived 25 miles south of the earthquake. We felt it, the ground move, as if it was a small quake, like a 3.5 or something like that. And yet it was a 5.6 at downtown Salt Lake. Other people throughout Salt Lake City also felt it. They posted ideas on Facebook. Many people said it woke them up out of a sound sleep. One person said it was a good time for an earthquake preparedness class. And yes, that's why we have the class that I'm talking about. Okay? As a result, I taught this class. And I've taught many classes just like it here on the air. Now, why am I talking about it now? A lot of people wonder how prepared they were. When I put that poll on my Facebook page earlier this week, like I said, it started off with some people that I knew very well, saying that they had no preparedness kit at all. They hadn't even started. To those people on my Facebook page, some of you may be watching this class right now because I told you that I was going to put it on tonight. To all of you, you need to have a preparedness kit, and you need to get going doing it right now. Start right now. No, you don't have to put out a huge expenditure of money. Gather your supplies and put it in a preparedness kit, whether it be a small tote or about backpack. Put it in your kit and keep it there. If you put stuff in the kit, don't take it out. Buy new things as you can. You don't have to spend a ton of money. Buy new items, new food items, new clothing. You don't have to put brand new clothing in your preparedness kit. Put used clothing. Slightly used clothing is good. Right now we are in wintertime, where temperatures are very cold. You may need to put winter clothing or have winter clothing out with your preparedness kit to put on in case of an emergency to stay warm. A lot of people have been wondering how prepared they were. That's why we're doing this class. Okay? I want to make sure that we give you the information you need in case of an emergency, because there's going to be an emergency. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Now, at the time I put this class on, I was a vice president of what they called Disaster Discovery Center in Salt Lake City. Disaster Discovery Center. This was a group of people, about 40 people. They're trying to build a building in Harriman that is going to house an emergency preparedness center with dispatchers and authorities there to help control events during an emergency. It's also going to be a museum of sorts, a teaching museum to teach people how to become prepared. Now, for those of you that live in areas where you might like to see this, talk to the authorities in your area. You also could be instrumental in starting a disaster discovery center in your own area, where you get people, you get professionals, you get police officers, fire department officials, and other disaster authorities there to teach you how to cope with any kind of emergency that could happen in your area. Because it's going to happen. The Disaster Discovery Center, where I was a vice president for years, it's a group specializing in helping people prepare for disasters. That's what you need in your areas. That's what you need in your areas. Now, I'm trying throughout these videos that I've been putting on the air for 5.5 years. I've been trying to teach you the steps that you need to take and what you need to do and how to do it and why we're doing it. This class that I'm talking about today, I called Rebound 72. Rebound in 72 hours. What to do in the first 72 seconds after an earthquake. What to do within the next 72 hours after an event. What are you going to do? If you're in bed and you're wanting to put your pillow over your head and ignore it happening, if you're going to want to stay where you're at until it's finished and shaking, do it. Do it. Protect yourself, though. Stay in bed until it quits shaking. Then what are you going to do afterwards? Make up your mind right now. Write it down. Have a plan. Write an emergency preparedness plan. If you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning and you feel the ground shaking, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay in bed until it stops shaking? And if that stops shaking, then what are you going to do? Write that information down. That way, when it happens, you're going to know already what you're going to do. You're not going to have to think about it. You're not going to have to think about and forget what you want to do. People forget things. That's a natural thing of life. You forget, especially when you're really upset or things are going wrong, one thing after another. Write things down. Have a plan. Have a plan. What are you going to do 72 days after the emergency? 72 hours after the emergency, what are you going to do? Even when we've had recent earthquakes, which we've had, before that 5.6 earthquake happened in Salt Lake City, in southern Salt Lake City, in the southern county of Salt Lake, in a town like Bluffdale, and Harriman, Riverton, they'd had tremors and minor earthquakes for months. Then all of a sudden, on the north side of Salt Lake County, they had the 5.6 earthquake. That means all those preliminary earthquakes were foreshocks of that 5.6. That's what happens. That's what happens, guys. Now, while those foreshocks were just minor, did not cause any damage, the 5.6 did. Millions of dollars of damage. What are you going to do? What do you want to do to avoid being in a situation where you're upset, you feel the earth shaking, or something else happening? What are you going to do? You need to pack a bag. You need to have an emergency preparedness kit, whether it's a bag or a tote. You need to have a preparedness kit, whether it's a bag or a tote. Okay? Put all those things into that bag or tote that you might use during an emergency. Okay? Now, I'm going to continue to teach these classes during this coming year. I want to make sure that you're ready for whatever happens, because I believe things are going to happen. I believe things are going to happen. We talked about food. We talked about water. We talked about clothing. How about a first aid kit? Think about a first aid kit and everything that goes into that. We talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about this again and again and again. I want to talk about it so often you're going to get tired of it. But I want to talk about it often enough to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Because a lot of people don't watch these programs. Or you might be new to watching these programs. Or you might not have seen this before, and now we're talking about it. Within the next coming few weeks, we're going to give you a full-blown vision of what an emergency preparedness kit is. And then I'm going to talk about preparedness planning. I'm going specifically to talk about preparedness planning. And I need you all to come to these programs and take notes. Because your notes may save your life or the life of someone you might love. Please do that. Please do that. Catherine Sigerson is saying, put gift bags together at home. It's Christmas time. Think of having a preparedness Christmas. Think about a preparedness Christmas. Giving gifts that might save your loved ones' lives. Give them a flashlight, a lantern. Give them hand warmers to keep their hands and body warm. Think about it. How about a hard hat? Hard hats don't cost much money. How about leather gloves? Leather gloves to protect their hands in an emergency. How about a whistle? How about wire? My friend Don Patoga just put up a post on the chat. How about 550 paracord? Rope. How about a thumb saw? Yes, a thumb saw. It's a small saw, but it works. Don talks about a tomahawk knife. How about a multi-tool like this? Or a buck knife like this? This buck knife has a clip on one side, so you can clip it to your belt or clip it to your pocket, so you can carry it with you. How about a hatchet? How about an axe? Think about the things you could put in your preparedness kit. How about a radio? A ham radio? An AM, FM weather radio like we've talked about? How about that? These radios that I'm talking about are not that expensive. Less than $30 you can buy a handheld ham radio. $30 or less you can buy an AM, FM weather radio. For $20 you can buy an FRS family radio service radio like this. It has 10 channels built into it. So if one channel is busy, you can go to another channel with the people you love and still talk with them. Think about a preparedness Christmas as you're gift shopping during the next 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks before Christmas. Think about all these things. Don Patoga still puts up this information in the chat. Ziploc bags with copies of your driver's license, your ID cards, your birth certificates, your insurance cards, your social security cards, your legal paperwork, titles to your car and titles to your house, rental agreements, pictures, maps in another Ziploc bag. Maps, because cell phones will become almost useless during an emergency because the cell towers are going to be down. Think about this. How about extra spending money? When you have a few dollars of cash, put it in a Ziploc bag. Put away a few $100s of cash in your preparedness kit. That way, in an emergency when ATM's not going to work, you've got cash to buy the things you need. Think about it. In the coming days and weeks, we're going to talk more about this. Do any of you have any questions? Do any of you have any questions? Catherine Sigurdsson is saying candles. Got to be careful with candles. Candles are a good idea. You can even cook with candles. Carol and I did that. Carol and I did that a few months ago when we had a hurricane that blew in here. We weren't supposed to use our barbecue because of fire. But guess what? We used our barbecue nonetheless. But we didn't barbecue. We had no open flames necessarily. We used the barbecue to cook with pans and skillets. We had no fire, but we had a skillet. And we had heat to cook with because the power's out. Think about what you're going to do. Ruthie B says, how do we learn about ham radio? And guess what? If you want me to, I did this in Denver, I've done it in San Diego. I will teach a ham radio class. Every one of my students that went through the ham radio class passed the class. Maybe on a Saturday. 1 hour on Saturday for about 10 weeks. I can teach a ham radio class where you can go to your next class. You'll find out from the ARRL.org. ARRL.org in your area. Find out when your next ham radio class is. And I'll put on a ham radio class, I mean a test. You need to take a test. It may cost anywhere from $5 to $20 to take the test. And if you pass the test, guess what? A few days to a week afterwards, you'll have your hard copy of a license to be able to operate a ham radio. Every student I've ever had in my classes have passed the test. Maybe I'll put a ham radio class together. You need these things, guys. You need these things. Kathy Berryman says she bought a camp stove and some extra propane canisters. Good idea. Good idea. My buddy Don Patoga is also here saying a ham radio requires a test. GMRS, General Mobile Radio Service, is a license, but you don't have to take a test. The license costs $30 for 10 years. General Mobile Radio Service. Yes, I have General Mobile Radio Service walkie-talkies behind me. Okay? Think about that. Think about it. Richard Smith says he still hasn't found a good way to get a ham radio license there in Canada. Let me help you do some research. Maybe I can help you with that. Charlene's asking, where can you buy a ham radio? Almost anywhere. Almost anywhere. You can get them on Amazon. This little radio here, I originally bought this radio here online. Wish Radio had Wish had these online for $26. For another $5, I bought a microphone with it, and I plugged the microphone in the side of the radio. Now I have a mobile ham radio. I also have a mobile radio that I put in my car that I also took out of my car, and with a battery backup and a battery charger I hooked up to that battery, it was a gel cell battery. All of a sudden I could operate that ham radio in my house with an outdoor antenna. Good thing, huh? You can do that. Rob52 has the same radio as I do. You can do it. You don't have to spend a lot of money to do this, but you can do that. In past episodes of this program, I've shown you the radios that I have here. You can do it too. You can do it too. Now, Don Patogas put something up that most people don't know. During an emergency, you don't need a ham radio license to operate a ham radio, as long as, one, you're courteous. You don't use bad language. And you don't just continue to occupy the radio frequency. Once you get your information, you stop talking and let other people talk. Remember that. Remember that. Sage Pup says Big Five stores, other sports stores such as REI have those ham radios. And the family radio service radios as well. And it's not that expensive. Okay? Emergency equals threat of life. Emergency equals threat of life. Remember that. Catherine Sigerson said, in Canada, the ham radio license is $60. $60. Okay. I've been on the air now 2 hours. I've answered questions. Charlene is here on the chat saying, will some areas thump plates move up and down? Yes. The tectonic plates may bounce around. I've been in earthquakes where that's happened. Most earthquakes are what they call strike slip earthquakes. They're like this. They'll cause the movement. You won't get the thumping around though. I was in an earthquake that threw me off my bed. Threw me up into the air off my bed. That happens. That happens. Charlene's asking, where would that movement occur? Could happen anywhere. That kind of movement could happen anywhere, literally. Rob52 says, part of Radio Club there in Arizona, you can get a license through the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. That's who issues the licenses. Once you pass your test, the ham radio club in your area will submit your test to the FCC and advise the FCC that you passed your test, and the FCC, with that $30 or $60, will send you a radio license in the mail. That's basically how easy that happens. Okay? That's how easy that happens. Anyway, guys, I want to get off the air here and let you have a good Friday night. It's date night almost anywhere in the world. Friday night is usually date night anywhere around the world. I've occupied your time for 2 hours. I don't want to occupy your time any longer tonight. Now, I want to read you a scripture tonight. I've read this scripture before, and I think it's worth it reading tonight. This is in Colossians. Colossians chapter 3. I'm going to start in verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. Brothers and sisters, let's do that. Let's stop ignoring the Lord. Let us stop ignoring the Lord. In many cases, I think that's what we've been doing. Ignoring the Lord completely. That's why we've gotten ourselves and our countries in a world of hurt. We have ignored the Lord. Now, I don't care whether you are in Brasilia, Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, Argentina, or Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, or down in Argentina, or over in Australia, or Japan, or over in Switzerland, or Scandinavia, or England. I think we've been ignoring the Lord. We've gotten away from the Lord. Stop it. Stop it. Start obeying the Lord. Pray to the Lord. How many times on this channel, either during Sunday school or our devotionals here during the week, how many times have I asked you to pray? How many times have I asked you to pray? Never forget, nothing is more powerful than prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith. And nothing is greater than God. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. Also, we need to still pray for our countries. I don't care what country you're in, we need to pray for our countries. Yes, this sign has an American flag. Pray for our nation. Pray for our nation and its leaders. God wants to know what's on our mind. Let's pray for ourselves, our families, and our nation. That way we can grow together. Now, tomorrow I'm taking the day off. On Saturdays we usually take the day off. Carol and I are going to a Christmas parade tomorrow morning. During the afternoon we're going to do some family things, and Sunday I will be back on the air about 12:30 Eastern Time with a Sunday school class called Come Follow Me, the Savior Said. And I have a special class tomorrow. Sunday. I have a special class, Sunday school class, on Sunday for you. We're going to specifically talk about talking with God and getting answers and what we're going to do when an answer comes from God and how to really truly prepare to talk to God. So think about that. Think about that. I look forward to our class on Sunday afternoon. Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Yes, it'll be Sunday afternoon here on the East Coast. But it'll be Sunday morning across the entire United States. Please join us here for that class. I would love to see you here. Worshiping Jesus Christ. We are preparing for a time to worship Jesus Christ and honoring his birth. December 25th. On December 24th, I will be conducting a special Christmas prayer meeting. I look forward to having all you here with your families, your children, your sons and daughters, your aunts and uncles, everyone gathered together to learn more about the birth and life of Jesus Christ, our Savior. December 24th, Christmas Eve. Please join us for that special Christmas program. I look forward to seeing you here. Now, as we end this night, please know that I love you. God loves you. God loves you. He wants the best for you. Please never think that you're without God. God is here with you. God wants to be here with you. Think about that. We are never without God. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. Have a good night, everyone. Much love. See you soon.